Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show. I'm your host, Brando, and I've always been pretty outspoken about when I'm doing stories about these different medical marijuana laws around the country. And whenever I do a story about an individual state, for some reason, it's usually something shady or whatever. And man, we don't have medical marijuana yet in America. All right, or we probably nowhere in the world, because medical marijuana would be realized. We would have completely safe access to everybody and anybody that needs it or wants it for medicinal purposes. All right. We would exist in the same space as synthetic stuff. If they want to make it, then go ahead. It ain't like you don't already do that, and you're not going to plan on doing it eventually anyway. So we could exist in the same space as that for various reasons, some good, some bad. And I'm not going to get into the details of all that, but it's possible. And also, it's possible. One of the keys to a successful situation where I think you say, okay, medical marijuana is doing pretty good there. I would say that to get there, you would have to allow patients to grow their own medicine or have somebody grow it for them directly, because there's nothing more medicinal than the symbiotic relationship between a plant and a person. Like when you're sitting there nurturing a plant and it's giving you back medicine, and that's a pretty powerful thing. You don't believe it, just grow a tomato plant. I mean, it's really pretty awesome stuff. But anyway, to deny somebody the right to grow their own medicine and then say marijuana is legal for medicinal purposes, but you got to go down the road and buy it at this place with cash money and pay taxes on it. That's not medical marijuana. That's not in the spirit of medicine. All right, that's not in the spirit of helping people heal. That's in the spirit of capitalist pig bullshit, where you're just trying to make money off of people's misfortunes. And America is one of the only places left in the world where capitalists literally prey on the sick and want to just make money off the sick. And in some cases make you sick so they can make money off you. We'll get into that in another clip, though. So Americans for Safe Access, as you may have heard me mention before, has put out a report this year that rates the medical marijuana, you know, situation state by state, and lets you know exactly what's going on. And they do it by basically a scoring system, and they have a number of factors that go into the scoring system. So we're going to look at that real quick, and then I'm going to go over this little list that Cultural Cheat Sheet has compiled here. I don't know who that is, but it's at cheatsheet.com, and it's a list of the 15 worst medical marijuana policies. Now, whenever I talk about medical marijuana policies, I'm always saying, oh yeah, we're talking about Florida. They got the worst medical marijuana program in the universe. And I'll say that about Indiana or Illinois. Indiana, I don't even know if they even got CBD yet. I'm not sure. But we know that medical marijuana is it's the future, all right, to say the least. It's the past and it's the future, and it's definitely going to be the future, because more medical products will be able to be made from this one plant than any other plant ever conceived by man, ever thought of or dreamed of. Like, you already have all these different medicines that are readily available just by growing the plant and taking something right off of the plant. All right, like literally, you can take the leaves off the plant. That's medicine. What more do you need? All right. So, patients' civil rights and civil protections from discrimination is the first category that they use to rate these different states, and then access to medicine, which is pretty huge. You had that program in New Jersey where there was only certain dispensaries in certain areas, and it left probably about 80% of the population to have to drive over 2 hours or more to get to a dispensary. So you don't want that. And then you got ease of navigation. So a medical marijuana program can basically be designed just to choke out the medical marijuana program. And I think that's what they're trying to do in Michigan. Like, for example, if you want to be a producer that produces a large quantity of medical marijuana, or you want to be any one of the many facilities that they started new licenses for in 2016, the license process is still ongoing. And if you wanted to get an application, you basically need a team of consultants and lawyers to help you fill it out. So that's not very good on the ease of navigation in that area. And I mean, this book was put out. Michigan probably ranked pretty high. I believe it did, but that's gonna change when this report comes out next time, because we went from having a really good system to we don't know what's going to happen, because we're basically going to be relying on leaving the system up to very large producers and highly regulated operators all around. So then you got functionality. So again, another thing that could kill a medical marijuana program is how functional is it? Is it really, do you have reasonable limits, and is there too many restrictions? Is there not enough supply? Is there supply issues in general? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. And then category 5, consumer safety and provider requirements. So what do you have for, looking out for the product quality and consumers being able to purchase a product in a safe environment? Is cultivation regulated enough to where it's not going to churn out, unsafe medicine? Excuse me, I got a little case of the hiccups. So that's your factors that they look at. And to be honest, I don't think anybody in the whole thing scored any better than B plus, which Michigan, to give them credit, as of the time that this report was made, was one of the better areas for safe access and overall like product quality and all those things that they look at. Michigan ranked up there pretty high. Now you can see these blue states. They're the ones we're going to be focusing on. I don't know how Florida skated by, but I'm thinking Florida probably would ring the bell for a lot of these, bad markers, but it also probably has a lot of good things going for it on paper. But when you go into practice, it's probably not as good as it sounds like it should have worked out. And I mean, I really should get off my ass and do a clip just about the Florida situation, because the nature of it being a constitutional amendment is making it a living hell for people that realize now that the program that they signed up for isn't really a program that they should have signed up for, or it was interpreted wrong, especially in terms of whether or not people can smoke weed or not. So it's another one of those things where if they don't write it right in the law, it says, yes, people can smoke weed, then the law people automatically say, oh, then I guess smoking weed's illegal. So let's get into this. The 15th worst. Anyway, let me just read this first paragraph to see what they got here. While America is still a long way from legalizing or even decriminalizing marijuana, many states are ahead of the curve. People suffering from cancer, Alzheimer's, and other conditions can get already access medical cannabis to treat symptoms and lead a better life. Meanwhile, you'll find recreational pot use in Nevada, Colorado, and California, among other places. However, lawmakers in several U.S. states have not been open-minded about marijuana in the slightest. Americans for Safe Access, a nonprofit that advocates for medical cannabis patients, assigned a score to every state to reflect how things stand for Americans in 2018. Here are the 15 states with the worst medical marijuana policy. Virginia, grade of F. Despite minor improvements, Virginia remains among the worst. And by the way, these improvements were just put down on paper like this last year. So, I mean, outgoing governor and new governor Ralph Northam both signed laws improving Virginia's medical marijuana policy since 2017. Unfortunately, many patients still cannot access oils at state facilities. That makes people with qualifying conditions have to travel out of state to obtain the medication, hence the failing grade of F Virginia got for 2018. And that's pretty bad that you have a law that says people are okay. Yeah, it's okay, we accept that, this is medicine, but, we're not letting people produce it enough or at all or whatever. I'm not sure what the exact situation is on the ground, but if you say that something's legal, but you don't have an avenue for that product to be in the market, then you're relying on the black market, and you're relying on interstate travel. You're forcing somebody to break that law, which is a federal law. That's where the DEA gets involved. The DEA will say, "Oh, we're not in the business of busting on patients." No, that's true. You might not be, but if you found out that somebody was crossing state lines with some CBD oil, you get mad about it. We've already seen evidence that you make a big deal out of that. Texas, grade F, and I've been saying this. I did make a clip when they started production, and what I found out was that they basically know who the patients could or are going to be, and they plan on making about $20,000 a year off of each of these patients, who are people that have kids with epilepsy and seizures. So I think it's garbage. I think it's a capitalistic, predatory system. Sure, you're getting medicine to these people, and that's a good thing. It's better than what they were doing. These are kids that the state says, well, we're not going to let you try medical marijuana until it's the last resort. That's one of the stipulations I found out in Texas that was a thing. And it's like, so you're going to make someone exhaust all these other options that don't work. And if you're familiar with Alexis Bortel's case, she was slated to get that surgery to her brain, I believe, like other kids with these seizures. It's one of those last resort things. And I'm glad that didn't happen. But to tell somebody that's we're only gonna let you do this as a last resort, or in Florida they have this thing where it's like, okay, you can only get the high THC if it's like end of life treatment. Come on, guys, let's get real about these policies. Georgia, grade F. Reviewing policy changes from 2017, Americans for Safe Access applauded Georgia expanding its list of qualifying conditions. The state is now one of a very few listing autism as such a condition. And like I said, when I explained, how good all these states got it and how some of them got it really bad, you look at Colorado, they're sitting on a B minus, or wait, is that? I always don't know where Colorado is. Sorry. But anyway, it's the problem here is you don't even they're fighting to get autism on as a qualifying condition. You got some people that are basically just like, okay, we don't care if it's a qualifying condition or not. I'm going to use it for this or that because I'm an adult. But as soon as you start giving a kid medical marijuana for autism, and it's not on the qualifying condition list, you're back in the CPS's sites. So, like I said, there is nobody scored A, and I can't even believe there's B pluses on this list, or even B's. I mean, B's, I'll take B's, but B pluses, I don't think we deserve that. I don't even think Michigan deserves that. Maybe California, maybe Oregon, but Oregon got lower than Michigan. Washington's is so bad because, obviously their recreational marijuana program was run by the alcohol board, and they were really gangster about getting rid of competition, and that was one of the things that suffered was the medical marijuana situation, which from what I've heard, it was never really the best program in the world, but don't don't take my word for it, and I'm not going to hang my hat on that opinion that someone told me that was from there. So anyway, residents have no way to access the medication since Georgia lacks a distribution system. Since officials recognize the importance of medical cannabis but force patients to find it on their own, Georgia got, again, an F. You're going to get an F every time, guys, if all you're saying is, oh yeah, we have these conditions and you can use this for that. But guess what? We don't have any producers and you're just going to have to find that shit on the street. That gets an F every time, man. Kentucky. Marijuana has proven effective treating PTSD and otherwise managing chronic pain. In fact, in states where medical cannabis is legal, opioid overdoses have been lower. Down in Kentucky, where opioid use amounts to an epidemic, state laws allow very few people to use cannabis for managing pain and other symptoms. The high number of lung cancer patients in this state could also benefit from marijuana in liquid form. So they need better cannabis policies. And, you know, anytime when you tell people that you can't use medical marijuana for chronic pain, you know that's just big pharma winning in that area. Because that's what these qualifying condition lists and these panels and these medical marijuana states that have these lists, and you got to go through this, this commission or whatever it is, this group of people that are selected to decide on the conditions. You have to go through them to get a condition approved. And the default for a lot of these shitty states is that they automatically start off saying no to autism and chronic pain and a few others that, you know, you might say there's not enough science to back it up, but the anecdotal evidence is so obvious it's just like pain. You know, it's painful to to deny somebody of it, but they do it anyway because Big Pharma's got them over a barrel. And that's what these lists are, guys. These qualifying condition lists are heavily monitored and, you know, the pushback comes from Big Pharma. Why would there have to be a fucking board that decides on this shit? You're like, chronic pain. Let's see, does it work for somebody somewhere ever? Yeah, okay, put that on the list. It's safe medicine, guys. It's safe medicine. This medicine can't hurt you. It can't make you addicted to the point where you're on the streets selling your soul for more of it. This is cannabis we're talking about. It's fucking safe. Let's be done with all this qualifying condition garbage. That's where I'm at. Does anybody have any legitimate reason why we should worry about whether or not somebody takes medical marijuana for any condition? If you do, please tell me about it. Tell me all about it. All about the dangers of giving someone medical cannabis for a condition that they feel like they need it for, and you feel like that they don't need it for. Are you a doctor? If you are, let me know. Because I don't get why this is a thing. Why we have to worry about whether or not Big Pharma wants anybody to parse into their market share on pain meds. Especially when their pain meds are literally killing this country and stringing everybody out. Everywhere you look, you see the same thing that they just said up there about Kentucky. We have a massive opioid epidemic going on in this country. We need safe alternatives for pain. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Mississippi. F, what do you expect? To qualify to use a CBD oil in Mississippi, and let's just stop again and remember that when they're talking about medical marijuana, it's acceptable for some reason to just be talking about CBD oil. I don't get that. I don't like that. I think it should be called hemp oil or something, because marijuana is the one where they demonized it and said it gets you high and causes white women to want to fornicate with the darkies or whatever the fuck they did to make it illegal. That kind of stuff there is why we shouldn't bunch CBD oil in with marijuana, because you guys want to make them two different things until you want to make them the same. And it's like, no, it's not the same. Medical marijuana encompasses all things of the plant. CBD oil is just CBD oil. So states that are like, oh, we have a medical marijuana program now, you get an F if it's just CBD oil. You get a big fat F. And if there was a lower grade, then we would give you that. How about we can give you an incomplete, can't we? And wait until you come back with a real program? So anyway, we're going to give Mississippi a F because patients have to prove a severe epileptic condition. Otherwise, there's no way to access it. And when I say that they have to prove a severe condition, that is, again, where they have went through the arduous process of putting their epileptic children with seizures through all the rigors of every medication known to man that has failed them. And then they can be like, okay, you've tried all those. Okay, here's a card that says you're allowed to use CBD oil. You get an F, man. I wish I could give you an I. North Carolina. Only epilepsy patients have a short treatment with CBD oil. So this is the kind of thing where you have to go re-up your med card on a regular basis. That's kind of weird. I don't get it. Like, if it's working, why should you ever have to go back and tell them you want more and that you need their permission? It's, again, totally harmless. And now when we're talking about CBD oil, it doesn't even get you high. So if you're worried about these kids getting high, the CBD oil, you can't even get high off it. So now you got to jump through hoops just to get your kids CBD oil. I wish I could give you an eye over there in North Carolina. And this is like, you have to have at least tried 3 other treatment options. So at least they're only making you try 3. I don't know what the other places are where they're like, well, you got to exhaust all other options. So it's basically just a handoff to Big Pharma while these kids are having seizures that could be deadly or very damaging to their brain, especially when using things like methamphetamines and benzodiazepines and stuff to try to treat it. And if their grade is lower than an F, North Carolina might have gotten it for the policy of 2018. Out of 100, their score was down in the 30. Now, if you know what Fs are, F is like what? A, B, C, D, E, F. So that would be like you're down in the 60s with a F, or the 50s to 60s. That's 30. You get an I. Let's just put an I in the system, because all these states with just CBD get an I. Hopes are high for South Carolina in 2018. However, going by the state's current record, it gets an F. Weak patient protections and near zero access got it that grade. Meanwhile, hardly any conditions qualify. And I wish I had time to go into each one of these and really light these guys up, because they need it. Everybody needs to be told how terrible their medical marijuana program is. We need to reevaluate this whole approach, guys, of letting states do terrible medical marijuana programs. I know you have the Marijuana Policy Project out there, and I guess their policy is whatever we can do that makes it better than it was yesterday is what we're going to help you do. And it's just not enough in a lot of cases. So I give them, an A for effort, but I give them an actual C overall for policy changing. That's a pretty rough grade for somebody that's helped several states come online with decriminalization or some kind of legalization. Oklahoma, another F. At a glance, Oklahoma's medical marijuana policy is only slightly better than the criminal policy, which lands anyone caught with the smallest amount in jail. Few conditions qualify, access is limited, and patient protections are poor. However, voters have a chance to weigh in on the issue on June 26, 2018. During that primary day, a referendum will ask whether access should be expanded all the way to allowing some Oklahoma residents grow marijuana plants. Whoa. So they're trying to flip that grade around, make it a B. Good luck. Alabama. Alabama. You're not going to be surprised when I say F. For starters, almost no one qualifies for treatment with the medical cannabis in Alabama, but it actually gets worse. Some sick children need a prescription to access the drug. However, Alabama doctors cannot give them the treatment they need. Therefore, patients who obtain the drug on their own would not be protected by law. So it's a big catch-22. Missouri, another F. At the start of May in 2018, Missouri's House passed a bill legalizing medical marijuana, although the conditions it would cover, terminal illness and cancer, were on the list. That's it. However, there is still a long way to go, especially when Missouri's governor is up to his neck in scandals. As it stood at the start of the year, state policy could hardly be worse. And like Oklahoma, they also will be voting on medical marijuana this year. There will be something on the ballot. Hopefully it'll be New Approach. Shout out to New Approach, Missouri. All right, good luck, guys. And then Utah, grade F. Count Utah among the many states considering new marijuana laws in 2018. However, Governor Gary Herbert already went on record saying he opposes legalization. He went on the record doing more than that. And by the way, the people in Utah are right now under siege as there's a canvass going on to get signatures saying that you want to rescind your signature from the ballot to legalize medical marijuana. I encourage everybody that sees one of those canvassers to come to their door to give them an earful. All right, they've already been caught breaking the law, lying and bribing and shit, so we'll see what happens. Currently, very few patients in the state qualify for the medical cannabis treatment. Access and legal protections are virtually non-existent. Wyoming, F. Only people suffering from intractable epilepsy qualify for Wyoming's cannabis program. Unfortunately, the state has no distribution system, so patients have to find it elsewhere. This type of policy does next to nothing for people suffering from such conditions. And quite frankly, when they put these policies in place and then the policies fail people, then they can go back later and say, oh, see, medical marijuana doesn't work. Nobody even wants it. That's what they tried to do in Illinois. Tennessee, another F. Progress doesn't come naturally in Tennessee, and it looks like the advances in marijuana policy will have to wait until 2019. In 2018, in April, a medical cannabis bill died at the hands of its own sponsor because he didn't think he had the votes. That leaves the state as one of the worst states in the union for marijuana policy where it started. Wisconsin, another F. As long as Walker's in the mansion, there's nothing that's going to change. So as Wisconsin cities move to legalize marijuana, state policy remains among the worst in the country. Almost no one qualifies for treatment under current laws. Meanwhile, Governor Scott Walker said in 2017 he's, quote, not interested in opening the door towards legalizing marijuana, medical or otherwise. Likewise, Wisconsin voters can decide whether they're interested in Walker sticking around in November. I highly recommend you guys get rid of that guy. I mean, come on. Why would you want to keep him around? It doesn't make any sense. What has he done besides churn Wisconsin into garbage? Anyway. Indiana, another F. And Indiana scares me. They're like right connected to Michigan, and every time I got to drive through there, I'm freaking the hell out. All right, while neighboring states have sound medical cannabis policy and popular opinion supporting it, Indiana nonetheless is the worst for marijuana policy in America. Did you hear that? That's the worst in America. Not just for medical, but for all marijuana policy. I mean, they really just want to lock you up and throw away the key for any amount of weed, especially if you're from a foreign state. I think they want to build a wall around Indiana. It took until 2017 to clear the way even for intractable epilepsy patients to access CBD oil treatment, which, by the way, is another one of those situations where you can't produce it. It's barely being produced. It's not being distributed. You have to smuggle it. Even with the narrow prism, state laws make access close to impossible. Meanwhile, civil protections and consumer safety guidelines barely exist. Without question, Indiana is the most backward state when it comes to medical marijuana. And that's what you get. That's all I have on this. If you want to look at this report here, I will go ahead and put that in the description below. And also in the description below, let's see. I guess I can just do this, right? Yeah. I will be on the live show this weekend again on Sunday over at DC420 LA on YouTube and quite frankly pretty much on everything. Here's all the platforms that you'll be able to see that on. I'll just copy this description, put that in the description here, and a description to this right here in the description below. And that's all I got, guys. Yeah, so if you have any ideas about the medical marijuana situation in your state, let me know. And, you know, if there's something that's like out the fucking wall, more landish than anything I've ever heard, I might even do a story about it because, you know, I really want to start focusing on state by state profiling of the situations in cannabis that they are dealing with, because we are really are, you know, coming into the final stretch of the prohibition. I don't, you know, prohibition is a strong word. I don't know if we're going to see the end of that in my lifetime. But as far as you know, legalizing and normalizing, that's within reach. We're almost there, guys. So, all right, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Peace.